SAT reading, the 5-minute version. Let's do this thing. On SAT reading, you get 65 minutes to answer 52 questions. Basic details. You always read one fiction passage, 2 science passages, 1 social science passage, that's stuff like psychology, sociology, economics, and 1 historical political passage. Within those categories, you'll get 1 set of paired passages, 2 authors with different opinions about the same topic. 65 minutes for 52 questions. By the standards of standardized testing, that's a ton of time. Hopefully you know already that the SAT test writers are not kind and generous by nature, however. The test is long for a reason, and I'll get to that in a minute. Most students do get through the reading section in time, but most don't do it as well as they could. When I ask about the reading section, literally every student I've ever talked to has said, yeah, it was all right. And those students have scored anywhere between 400 and 800 on the reading. Why is there so much inherent variation in the scoring? And how do you get to the high end of the curve? Well, for starters, by reading closely. They call this section the evidence-based reading section. And that's actually the reason why they give you so much time. To do this section right, you want to consider every word. Read with a scalpel, not a hatchet. Dissect answer choices down to the word. Read question stems with perfect clarity, and always have a justifiable reason from the passage to prove that your answer is right. Let me give you the top 3 strategies for handling this section. Number 1, pre-highlight. You're going to have to look back at every passage carefully to solve, well, pretty much all of the questions, but some questions in particular. There are questions, we call them evidence buddies, on which you answer one reading comprehension question, and then on the next question, you point to the evidence that proves that answer correct. These questions all have line references, citations like lines 11 to 12 or 45 to 50. Before you read the passage, you want to pre-highlight those citations in the passage. Just flip to the questions, look for the questions with line numbers, and quickly but carefully mark those spots in the passage. Just put a little bracket around the left-hand side of each set of lines. That way, when you're reading the passage, you'll be paying attention to those moments. And when they ask you a question that pertains to those pieces of evidence, you'll already have them in mind. Strategy number 2, let context be your friend. There are some really difficult reading passages on the SAT. Stuff that dates back to the 18th century and uses vocabulary and sentence structures that we don't see very often here in the 21st. Know that everyone is faced with the same difficult passages. Rely on what you understand in the passage to get to the main idea, then let that main idea help you unravel some of the more difficult moments in the passage. The SAT is not expecting you to read and fully understand the stuff on the first pass. That's another reason why you get so much time for this section. But they are also expecting you to be a good detective and figure out what you can from what you can understand. You'll always be able to understand some of what's in the passage. Let that context help you get to that all-important main idea. Once you have that, the answers to the questions will fall in line. Strategy number 3, use every word. The SAT includes wrong answer choices that are not too far from right. Make sure that every word in your answer choice is saying what you want it to say. If you find yourself picking an answer choice but feel like something is wrong with it, you're probably right. Something is wrong with it. On the flip side of that, you might find an answer choice that is so bland it almost sounds like it's saying nothing at all. That might be the right answer. Why? Because it is not saying anything that's incorrect. Yep, right answers on the SAT can be correct almost by default, simply by not being wrong. Your job on this test is to work hard to find evidence to prove that the answers are right and wrong. To be honest, doing this section is not a ton of fun, but it is doable. Do your pre-highlighting, use context to your advantage, consider every word, and you'll be off to a great start. Oh, and practice. Please, do some practice.